I want to play a clip now. This is absolutely horrendous. A disabled woman forced to crawl up a flight of stairs at a London overground station due to a broken lift. Staff were seen giggling at a disabled woman, a wheelchair user, a woman called Jenny Berry, was left to shuffle up the steps on her bottom. To add insult to injury, a technician announced that he had just got the lift working as Ms. Berry reached the top step. Station staff were heard joking to Ms. Berry, a disabled woman, that she could use the lift if she wanted at the exact moment she was finishing her 15-minute climb. Let's watch the clip of this.
I'm Jenny, I'm a wheelchair user, and I'd recently travelled on the overground late at night to Dalston Junction station, and unfortunately the lift was out of order. There was no signage at the station I'd left from to tell me that the lift was out of order, and there was also no staff around on the platform to assist in trying to get me to another accessible station in the opposite direction and then try and get home from there. So I crawled up this flight of stairs because my hotel was literally right outside this station. Staff did actually appear at the top of the stairs by the time I got there, but also found it hilarious when the lift technician announced that he'd just got the lift working when I'd got to the very top step.
He's working now.
Are you kidding me? You can actually hear them on this recording laughing when they realise.
What fun the lifts there? At least I should be happy that.
As a wheelchair user, I'm not the first person this has ever happened to, and I certainly won't be the last. I just didn't want to travel back in the opposite direction to then try and get home and be stranded in the pouring down rain. Things need to change for disabled travellers, and quickly.
Okay, so it's Jenny Berry there. For those who are listening on the radio, what we saw was Jenny sort of going up a step at a time, lifting herself up, lifting her legs up because she is disabled, she is a wheelchair user. People laughing at this woman in this really undignified way for them and also for her. She was, it is a horrendous thing to have to do that. Okay, Sadiq Khan, you're the head of TfL. You're the person who is the ultimate head of Transport for London. Find these people and sack them right now, today, because this is absolutely disgraceful. James Dowling, your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. You don't know the context of these things, but it is very difficult to take any view other than the fact that, regardless of how this has appeared in the media, regardless of the fact that she is a campaigner for wheelchair users, so, you know, presumably she's doing this to further her sectoral interests.
Happy for her to do that.
Yeah, exactly. She's clearly hit a point here. It does feel like, you know, and actually, you know, step-free access to public transport in London and across the country is a real scandal. It can be really, really difficult to get around if you can't use the stairs. And, you know, however this came into the media, I think she's got a really legitimate point, and I mean, it's not very clear what TfL are doing about it. I mean, it was a pretty generic response from them.
Well, TfL say that it was Arriva Rail London who actually operate the station in Dalston.
Presumably on contract to them.
Well, exactly. However, you know, why couldn't... I mean, who filmed this for a start? Where was the wheelchair? I'm not saying she doesn't... she does. She's not disabled. Of course, I'm not saying that. However, to put a stunt like that, to get her legitimate point, as James quite rightly said, across, do we really... This is 21st century Britain. Do we need to do this? And of course, it's not just wheelchair users that have issues with platforms that aren't on one level with that necessitates the use of lifts. People with buggies, people with prams, people with walking sticks.
Yeah.
You know, it's so much more. Blind people.
Lots of people.
Well, you know, there's lots of people.
Or people who just maybe a little bit elderly and fancy taking the lift because it's a little bit easier.
Whilst I think it was a bit of a stunt because clearly there was someone there filming her, I do think it raises a very legitimate point and a point that has to be addressed across TfL, and I don't care if they are subcontracting the stations or the station masters or the platforms to other places. Yeah. They need to get their acts together.
Often the way they say, oh, this is a subcontractor, it's nothing to do with us.
Exactly.
Nonsense. Let's read out their statement. Mark Evers is the Chief Customer Officer at Transport for London. We're deeply sorry for the distressing experience that Jenny Berry had while travelling with us, and we are urgently looking into this incident with Arriva Rail London, who operates this London Overground station, on our behalf to ensure that it doesn't happen again. We understand that lifts being out of service can have a significant impact on customers who rely on them, and we are committed to making transport in London more accessible. We are also working hard to ensure that lifts are repaired quickly and that information about their availability is published promptly. I regret that in this instance the necessary information wasn't readily available. Okay, Mark, that's fine. All of that is fine. Good for you. Read out your statement. What about the staff? You haven't told us anything about the staff. You haven't told us anything about the staff who were laughing at Jenny. We have it. It's on camera. You're looking into it. Are they going to keep their jobs? Claire?
Oh, well, they should. They really ought not to be keeping their jobs, because that is laughing at people, and that's, you know, why spend thousands of pounds and hundreds of thousands of pounds painting rainbows over stations, painting, even here in London Bridge, there's a huge pillar copied with the diversity flag, and yet here are people who cannot get up and down stairs, and their staff are laughing at them. Get rid of them all.
Not exactly a commitment to diversity, is it?
It's not, exactly.
No, it's not. I mean, it's pretty poor when you hear and see staff laughing like that. I suppose my only question is, you would like to think that they are not the kind of people who take who take malicious enjoyment in a disabled person's discomfort. So, you know, my only
Gosh, you're
question
very charitable
is,
today, James. My goodness me.
well, you know, we're about to come on to the unions, but my only question is whether the context meant that they were feeling
that's interesting.
feeling less
and
cooperative.
the context is something that people on messages have been saying. No excuse for staff. However, who took up the wheelchair and why didn't the cameraman help her?
Yeah.
I wouldn't film someone, I'd help them. Something is not right here. To be honest, I think it's fair enough to be filmed with this. I mean, you can always take the wheelchair up next. If she had someone with her, I mean, she still had to do this.
Well, clearly she had someone with her that was filming it. She couldn't have done that herself.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Paul in Lincolnshire says the person recording the footage could have, instead of recording this for the purposes of publicity or 15 minutes of fame, the staff could have helped, but that is the full. But is the full story being told? If she had waited for the staff to arrive to help, or there wasn't help, well, staff can't carry people; they're not allowed to.
Well, and if you're a member of staff, do you actually want to appear on camera? Possibly not. So, I mean, you know, my suspicion is if she wasn't filming it, her experience would have been different from the one that we saw. But, you know, there's a central point here which needs to be addressed.
At the end of the day, there was
Which
still
is
laughing
the
at her.
legitimate claim that, that it's difficult to move around London transport if you have any form of physical disability.
Simon in Hull says, regarding the TfL wheelchair incident, I'm appalled by their attitude towards this poor woman. They should be sacked immediately.